Richard Allen, his 60 confessions, and the detail around this white van that I think is going to be very important. So lately in the trial, they've been talking about Richard Allen's confessions, 60 of them. Some people believe he is a crazed killer, and that is why he confessed. Other people believe that after 13 months in solitary confinement, the man has been eating his own poo, things are really bad, and he started to falsely confess. Well, now there's this very important detail about this white van in one of his confessions that I think is going to be very, very critical. So Richard Allen, in one of his confessions that is said to be his most detailed confession, he recounts that day. He talks about being out there, seeing the girls and following them. He talks about, following them through the path, fiddling with his gun. He thinks that's where he lost his bullet. Where the red dot is, he said he, ordered the girls down the hill. He said his intention was to SA assault the girls. But he said something spooked him. A white van drove past and he got spooked. And he, instead of SA assaulting them, he marched them across the creek, through up to where that yellow dot is, and he unalived them. Now, just keep in mind all of the clothing stuff that went on, right? The taking off of clothes, the putting on of clothes, the wood placement. Does this make sense to do this stuff if you were spooked? Okay, so the prosecution brings the white van owner in for questioning. His name is Brad Weber. He owns that property. He, talks about owning this white van, that he got off of work that fateful day at 2:10. He drove home, takes him about 25 minutes, brings him there about 2:35. For a refresher, the Bridge Guy video happened at 2:13. People are convinced that Richard Allen recounting this white van, talking about this white van is this piece of evidence that only the killer would know. But my question is, Richard Allen in jail was getting a ton of information about the case, right? They're getting evidence disclosures. They're getting witness statements, interviews, all of this information. They're getting it. He's receiving it. He's hearing about it. So I want to know when Richard Allen first in jail heard about the white van. Was it before or after he made this confession about the white van? Because if it's before he heard about it in jail, then I think it's critically important. But if it's after, I don't think it's as important, right? I don't know if it is that make or break, because these details is what the prosecution wants the jury to convict him on. The details that only the killer would know. Now, when the Brad Weber, the property owner, was up there, when the defense went to start questioning him, they asked him what he did that day. Did you go straight home? And he said yes. And they seemed to try to be insinuating. They asked him about some machines he owned. I don't remember if they were ATM or some sort of casino type machines. And they said, didn't you stop and work with your machines you owned that day before you went home? And he was like, no, I did not. I went straight home. And the state objected to this questioning, that it was outside of the scope. The judge sustained it. And so we know that Brad will be taking the stand. The defense is going to call him up there. So I'm very curious what they have. Do they know that Brad didn't go home right away that day? Does this not align with this confession that Richard Allen made? Again, these little tiny details that I probably sound insane talking about is what they're going to either, it's going to come down to guilt or innocence, really, because there's not much evidence in this situation. These confessions are of the utmost importance, whether you believe them or not, whether the jury believes them or not. So this detail about this white van will be very, very important.